From your local election headquarters, the GOP 4th Congressional Primary Debate.
Welcome to this 4th Congressional District Republican debate. For the next hour, no gongs, no buzzers, no whistles, no flashing lights, none of that stuff. It's your questions and their answers. And we've asked no stump speeches either here. Now, no doubt this situation that we have today, it's a little bit unique here. Steve King is Iowa's longest current serving member of the U.S. House, 9 terms. Yet he faces more challengers from his own party for this June 2nd primary than actually took part when he earned this seat back in the 2002 primary. Now, this Republican district covers Iowa's largest district, this 4th district. It's the largest geographically. You can see it is 39 of the state's 99 counties here. Goes all the way from the far northwest corner of the state all the way south almost to Council Bluffs. Then you have Sioux City, Mason City, Carroll, Fort Dodge, James, and a lot of other towns in there. Reaches all the way as you head to the east there through Chickasaw County, as all of these gentlemen know. So let's welcome our 4 candidates who are taking part in today's debate. Jeremy Taylor of Sioux City, Brett Richards of Irwin, Steve King of Chiron, and Randy Feenstra of Hull joining us by Zoom. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. All right, we're going to bounce around to a lot of things today, but let's introduce ourselves, if you would, Mr. Taylor. Let's go left to right and begin.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. Jeremy Taylor, and I'm a lifelong Iowan, a constitutionalist who loves the freedoms of this country. I met my wife, Kim, while I was teaching on a Christian mission in Vietnam, and there I realized the freedoms that I'd taken so for granted, freedoms that we really celebrated this past weekend, remembering the somber memorials to those who fought for our freedoms, freedoms to speak and worship, and to have the freedom to open a business and travel. For that reason, I raised my right hand to swear an oath to the Constitution to uphold and protect it. I'm a U.S. Army chaplain and major in the Iowa Army National Guard, a small business owner, and with my wife, Kim, in Sioux City, we're living the American dream. We have 4 girls and 2 boys, and we look at Congress as something that's not only broke, but broken. And with that, there's $26 trillion in debt, an unsecured border over 4 decades for which Congress has not acted, a disrespect for the sanctity of human life, and an ag economy and small business economy that has fallen on very hard times through this COVID pandemic. We want to stand in the gap. We believe that we're called to serve just as we went and served in the Iowa House with an A ranking from the NRA, the American Conservative Union, 100% pro-life voting record, and passed 6 significant pieces of legislation that affected veterans and domestic abuse victims. I helped turn around the largest county of the 4th District in Woodbury County and want to step up to the plate, which I've done, in order to answer the call of conservatives who want to make sure that we not only win this seat, but can effectively serve on the committees that matter to Iowa's 4th District families. Right. If called to serve, that's exactly what I plan to do. Thank you very much.
Mr. Richards.
Well, thank you for having us tonight. I'm really glad to be here, and this opportunity is very good to reach all the voters. I want to start by asking them a question. Who solves more problems, you, your neighbors, or politicians? I know I could sit down with any one of my neighbors and solve more problems in 20 minutes than politicians have in 20 or 30 years. And I think it's time we start sending citizen legislators back to Washington, D.C. I am Brett Richards. I'm a veteran, small businessman, proud father, husband, and citizen of Iowa. I think that we can get more done than Congress ever can. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. King.
I'm Congressman Steve King, and of course I've lived in the district all my life as well. I found myself sitting on a bulldozer on a hill back in 1975 with a $5,000 negative net worth and knew I had to do something different. I convinced a Democrat banker to loan me 100% on an old beaten up bulldozer. Today, we're 45 years meeting payroll. My oldest son owns that company today. I got frustrated with what government was and wasn't doing. Ran for the state senate in 96 from clear on the outside and served 6 years there and on to Congress after that. And here are some issues that I own. Sometimes I have to share them with some others. But renewable fuels, first bill I introduced, helped elevate ethanol and biodiesel, became law of course. And then also the Second Amendment, I have to share that with a handful of people. The repeal of Obamacare is an issue that I essentially own. I brought that more times than anybody else and before anybody else ever did. On the immigration issue, you can look at President Trump's immigration issue and you can see my issue when you do that. And then on the life issue, I'm the national and the state author of the Heartbeat Bill, and I worked really hard to get that through the Iowa House. That was a hard vote count to do. But in Congress, 174 co-sponsors, it was killed in the end by National Right to Life, who doesn't want to put an end to abortion. So I always stand up and run to the sound of the guns, and I've never let you down.
Mr. King, thank you. Mr. Feenstra.
Thanks so much for having this event, and I appreciate the opportunity that I could do it through Zoom. My son, who is graduating being a senior, is graduating, and we have his festivities today. And I promised my family that I wouldn't miss it. And this happened about 6 weeks ago, and this event was planned about a week and a half ago. To me, my faith and my family, they come first. And I want to congratulate all seniors who have had a tough spring away from sports, away from school and their friends. I wish each one of them a bright future, just like my son. And I'm just excited to participate tonight. I'm Randy Feenstra. I'm a Christian, a husband, a father, and a constitutional Republican conservative. I'm running for Congress because the 4th District needs a seat at the table, an effective conservative voice. To me, this election is about real results, not campaign rhetoric. I served in the Iowa Senate for 12 years. I was elected Assistant Majority Leader, where I helped deliver on many victories for the conservative movement. Among them, being chair of Ways and Means, I delivered the largest income tax cut in Iowa history. I also passed property tax relief for many farmers and families. I delivered on the pro-life movement. I was proud to defund Planned Parenthood, sponsored the Life to Define Life at Conception, banned taxpayer-funded abortion, and I am the only candidate endorsed by National Right to Life. I've been a champion of the Second Amendment, supporting the largest expansion of gun rights, co-sponsoring constitutional carry. I delivered on protecting against illegal immigration by banning sanctuary cities. These aren't campaign rhetoric. These are promises that I delivered. I'll continue to deliver in Congress. I'll help President Trump defund Planned Parenthood, defend Trump's tax cuts. I'll be unwavering on the Second Amendment, fighting against red flag laws. Our district, our president deserve an effective conservative leader in Congress. Thanks so much for your time. I would be honored to have your vote on June 2nd.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Let's get into what obviously is the far-reaching issue that is impacting people in our state and all over this world right now. That's this COVID-19 pandemic. Let's start with this concept of masks. Do you agree you should wear one of these things in public? I realize we're all social distanced here, so we took some precautions. But is that a thing you recommend to your constituents, and do you practice that? Let's start with you, Mr. Richards.
Well, I think it actually is one of those things that if you are a person with comorbidity or other underlying issues, it's not a bad thing to take extra precautions. I think that when we social distance, maybe we don't have to. Of course, being 12 feet from you, I don't think I have to have one, and plenty of distance from the others here. I think that the CDC has changed its position sometimes, and that is concerning for many Americans. What's right, what's wrong? I don't think it hurts, though, when we have to.
I should point out, I believe our podiums are about 7 feet. It may not look like that at home, but we made sure to keep everybody apart, and obviously Mr. Feenstra's way apart here, so he's totally fine. Mr. King, what do you think about the masks?
Well, I wear them in the appropriate setting, and most of the time, though, not. But what I do is to socially distance, and that's become part of our culture wherever we go, and I think that's a good idea. One of the things we need to do, though, is collect the data on people that are test positive so we know the outcomes. We need to know those demographics. That needs to be published so that we can actually analyze it, and then we can measure our risk. As Mr. Richards said, some people need to be more careful than others. We need to have the data so we know what we're doing.
And do you know, is that being done on the federal level? We've had viewers ask for that. We have not been able to receive it on the statewide level as specifically as you're talking about. Do you have any idea if that's being done at CDC or elsewhere?
You can go to Mathematica.org and find a lot of data that President Trump, or that Congressman King has said that we want to collect. The CDC does aggregate, local hospitals do too. So it is out there, some of the things that he wants to track.
Well,
I think it's
but to answer your question, Dave, we've gone to all 50 states, and there's not enough of it's published anywhere. It may be collected, but it's not aggregated yet, and I'm pushing to get that done. I wrote a form for them, presented it to the White House team and to the governor's office, so let's get it done. It won't be too late to go back and pull that information and plug it in. We're going to learn a lot, but the sooner we get it, the better decisions we can make. Mr.
Feenstra, the concept of mass social distancing, all necessary?
I tell you what, each individual has to be responsible and understand who they're around. If you're around people that are vulnerable, if you're around seniors, you should wear a mask. That's very important. If you're going for a run and things like that, no, I don't think so. But again, it's about each person's responsibility. We as individuals have to take responsibility in this arena.
Let's talk about this effort. Governor Reynolds is part of this $26 million contract with a Utah-based company. So it's this TestIowa.com initiative where the way it is now, everybody can get on there, take the test, and it'll tell you whether you are at risk. Now it appears if you get on there, it looks like you can get the test. Gentlemen, you're all running as fiscal conservatives here. So we've heard from viewers who've talked about this $26 million price tag, realizing this is on the state level, but it's federal dollars that went behind this. Mr. King, let's start with you. How do taxpayers make sure there's some accountability with this?
Well, of course, we have to have sunlight on this, and we started out, I thought the governor was being more forthcoming with the data. I don't think we're seeing the data that we need. It's one of my issues that I've raised in the past, in any case. But when I look at I went through there and checked myself to see if they would test me. And what we're getting is, in the early part at least, until she changed the rules, we were getting people that were much more likely to be positive that were being tested. So when you look at how this testing works, you get a test and it says right now, do you have it or don't you? But you could pick it up in an hour or a day, you think you're clean and you're not. So I don't know what we get out of this unless we do the antibody tests too. I'd like to see the antibody tests and then the data that I talked about, the test to see if you're positive when you feel okay. I don't know how much that actually proves except go quarantine yourself, but lots of people that aren't being tested can be asymptomatic. So I don't know that that actually solves the problem.
Mr. Feenstra, do you support this $26 million initiative? Is this the right use of money?
I tell you what, I applaud Governor Reynolds for what she's doing. To me, the first thing is you have to test. If you want to get our economy back going again, it starts with testing. You look at our packers right now that, they didn't test early on, and it created catastrophic effects when our packers went down, and all of a sudden our food supply created a security issue. Testing is the first step of getting things back to normal. We can test, we can figure out who has it, who doesn't. We should do tests on a regular basis. If you're asymptomatic, maybe you test in a week or 2 weeks, but testing will allow everybody to get back to work, get things going again for our economy.
Mr. Taylor, we didn't ask you about the mask. Do you support that effort? The Trump administration has talked about the necessity of wearing masks out in public, especially if you may be vulnerable or around others who are.
I think especially if you may be vulnerable or if you may be in a congested area such as traveling on an airplane, then I would. I typically don't, but as the situation dictates, would in protection of others if the situation was necessary.
What about this Test Iowa initiative? Where's the fiscal accountability in this?
Well, I think the fiscal accountability needs to come from having the strings attached, that there are reports and government accountability and transparency in this. I'm also concerned about the privacy aspect of this as well, and I think that needs to be fully disclosed so that others know that by being tested, that's not being any violation of HIPAA, and that is safe and secure. I also want to make sure that testing is affordable for anybody who wants to be tested, and I think that's a key component of this as well.
The governor has reopened restaurants across our state, so all 99 counties, they all have limitations. Anybody eat out yet? You feel comfortable doing this in public?
Yeah, I have.
You're not comfortable, or you have too good a cook at home?
I'm too good a cook, actually. I just thought, why didn't I go to a restaurant and eat? I'm happy to do that, but Kronk's Cafe is closed. All of them didn't get open. That's the longest running continuous restaurant in the history in the state of Iowa, and I don't know that they open again. And so this has hit real hard a lot of restaurants around the state. And I want to put that in, that we're looking across that yesterday. It's a legacy. Presidential candidates through there, the walls in that place know a lot more than even Dave Price.
That's why we have to support our local restaurants, and that's why I've gone out to eat already. That's why we've ordered out, because our rural Main Street restaurants, they need our support. we must support them and eat out so they can stay in our rural Main Street businesses.
Let's talk about the impact on restaurants and small businesses in general. We have looked at these unemployment claims. You start going back into mid-March and you're talking about almost 200,000 new unemployment claims, just unprecedented. The crush of people who have frankly overloaded the system at times. And you can see by this graph here, looking at what's happening with the red, and it's just skyrocketing what has happened here. Let's start with you, Mr. Feenstra. What needs to be done on a national level, if anything, to help these people who are out of work right now? Or has Congress already done enough and now you let everything just open back on its own?
Well, I think this is a very big thing. First of all, it goes with testing, but we have to start opening things back up, and we have to be responsible as individuals. We have to make sure that we're helping. Our campaign, I pivoted about 2 months ago in our campaign and said, how can we help others? We're Iowans, we're 4th District Iowans. How can we help each other? And our campaign went down the path and said, how can I help you with your unemployment forms? How can I help you with your SBA loans? And a lot of business took us up, and we helped a lot of restaurants on figuring out their SBA loans. But at the end of the day, unemployment was a big thing. But now we have to get people back to work. And our 14% unemployment rate right now, we have to get that back down to 5 and 6. But we can do that as we slowly open up in a safe and meaningful manner.
So should Congress not do either an extension? As you know, they're looking at a couple different things. You have Democrats looking at potentially extending that additional $600 per week government aid to workers maybe through January instead of letting it expire in July. Others on the Republican side have looked at potentially a $450 bonus, essentially, if you leave the unemployment roll and then go back to work. Should any of this happen?
Exactly. I think what we have to do is get people back to work. We have to get people back off unemployment. And how do you do that is you get them back to work. The bonus idea is an option of saying, all right, we need you to get back to work. Here's a small bonus to get back on your feet. But the bottom line is how you get back to an economy that's growing is getting people back to work. And that's why I applaud our governor and slowly opening our economy.
All right, Mr. Taylor, a bonus, is that the way to get people back to work?
I think ultimately we need to get people back to work by reopening our economy. If we subsidize right now to this level, we're not going to have the fiscal health. We were already $23 trillion. We're now $26 trillion in debt. We simply can't afford it. We do need to have a step-down program, so I would be supportive of looking out to July or even August as businesses get back on their feet. But we can't just keep subsidizing that which the private economy would otherwise help. And so with that, I'm supportive of reopening the economy, making sure that there's a graduated way to do so. But ultimately, there's not enough money that the federal government can print to be able to subsidize what the private economy should otherwise take.
Explain by what you mean by step down.
Step down meaning that in July or August that we have a bridge for these businesses to get back on their feet, and unemployment to be able to help those that are still not fully transitioned to being back to work full time. All
right, Mr. Richards, should this be some kind of bonus from the federal government as an incentive to get back to work?
You know, I don't. What I do know is the fact that rural Iowa is already hurting. I think many small towns may end up going away because of this. You have small business owners. I've been a small business owner. My family has since 1977. What we've got to remember is that when you put a government restriction on any business, what happens is it makes it harder for small businesses to survive, and especially in rural Iowa, where it's hard for anyone to start a business or even come back. And Kronk's is a great example, something my wife and I have been to many years in Denison. It is sad that it's gone, is because the government ordered us to shut down. And I realize it was made with decisions, with facts at the time, but now we're going to lose something. And in Iowa, we're all connected. Small towns, the county seats, and the regional cities.
So should the governor not have shut down the businesses?
Well, I think, again, she was making good decisions at the time. It's 2020, you know, hindsight's always 2020, and we will look back and realize the rights and the wrongs. We shouldn't stay closed. I know that. It's time to get back and so we can save some of those businesses.
All right, what about these bonuses? Is that the right way to incent people back or not?
Oh, I think the right way to do is just to stop creating laws that help large corporations. Let's let the small businesses, the driver of our economy, get going, and that's how you get people back to work.
Mr. King, what do you think the right way to go is here for Congress?
Not to pay an incentive to go back to work. I would be opposed to that. The $600 bonus on top of the extended unemployment benefits was a mistake, and it was the leverage that Nancy Pelosi brought in order to get that bill across, coming out of the Senate. So we knew then that it was a major, major problem, especially for our small businesses, when you have to compete against unemployment. I mean, we go out and recruit people for our construction company, and we know when their unemployment runs out. About 10 days before it runs out, we're ready to go back to work? Well, not this week, but maybe week after next. That's, as long as you pay people not to work, they're not going to work. So when this unemployment runs down, then they're going to come back to work. And it's really tough to recruit a good workforce. And we still got nearly 40 million Americans on unemployment today and 20 to 30 million illegal aliens in the country. We ought to be able to find some people to go to work.
And the way this is set up, if your previous employer calls you back, you do have to go back. But the concern, if I'm following you, the way I understand it is, let's say your business shuts down or isn't able to bring everybody back, people can make the choice to continue to stay on unemployment, get both their state benefits and the federal benefits, and then wait till it runs out or whatever. Am I following this correctly?
Well, you're following, Dave, but in addition to that, the latitude here is if you're like a caregiver for somebody that's got COVID, if you've got your mother-in-law's in the nursing home and you check in on her a couple times a week, any old excuse will do to stay on unemployment. So that door is pretty wide open, and I think it needs to be closed down, and let's sunset this thing and get back to a real economy. We didn't do this stuff in the Great Depression in the 30s. People figured out a way, and now it's like nobody has to try. We have to do it all from government and U.S. debt, and that's a big mistake.
Let's talk about another way that this primary election is so different. You have the Secretary of State, Paul Pate, who has mailed out these absentee request forms to every registered Iowa voter. And you're seeing some similar efforts in some other states here. Gentlemen, as you know, the president has been very critical, not specifically about Iowa, we have to point out. He's talked about California, Michigan, some states with Democratic governors here, but he was just tweeting out this morning that the way he looks at this idea, and he's also looking ahead at the general election, he thinks this concept of voting and perhaps voting entirely by mail could be fraudulent, wouldn't be safe. Mr. Feenstra, let's start with you. With what Secretary Pate did, was that the right decision or wrong decision to mail all these requests out?
Well, it was absolutely the right decision because we already had the mechanism in place. We created voter ID. I was a co-sponsor of the bill, and we got it done. And what it simply said is you have to have some ID connected with you. So when you start going to absentee ballots, is that you have to put on your driver's license or you have to put on your voter number. That makes sure that it's secure, that, hey, this is my driver's license, my ballot's coming to me, I have to sign it. These are all mechanisms to make sure that we have a secure election. And I would applaud other states that do this. I think this is what President Trump is getting at, is that you have to take steps to make sure that you have a secure election. I mean, what we have in America is one of the greatest election processes ever in the world, but it's fair. And we have to make sure we continue to keep it fair. But that happens when you have voter ID, and that's what we have in Iowa.
Mr. King, you've known Secretary Pate for a couple of decades here now. With what he did here, was that the right call in view of what would be safe for voters on primary day?
Paul Pate's my friend. I like Paul Pate. I disagree with him on this one because I dug into this in 2000 when all of this hanging Chad was going on down in Florida. I chaired the Iowa Senate State Government Committee, and that all fell to me. I wanted to make sure that Iowa never looked like Florida did in 2000. And so I wrote legislation and passed it off the Senate that required that the Secretary of State certify that the voter rolls were free of duplicates, deceased, and felons, and that they be citizens and require a picture ID. That didn't pass the House, but it passed the Senate. And so I saw corruption all across this country. And if you want to get to the least amount of corruption, you vote on Election Day only. Real people that walk in with a voter ID, as Randy said, identify themselves, they're on the rolls, and they vote and walk out. But when you start handling these things through the mail, you don't know who's handling that ballot and how do you certify that. Even to challenge a signature is very tough to do from a legal perspective. So I don't want to see this go this way. I want to have the most integrity. And people will say you have an obligation as citizens' duty to vote. I say first, get informed and be a responsible voter, then go vote. But if you're not informed, don't go throwing that up there as if you think you know the direction our society ought to go.
Mr. Richards, right or wrong, what Secretary of State did?
You know, again, looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. I've said it before, I do think at the time it was the right decision to try to make sure voters, especially those that are most vulnerable, had access to it. I do think it's our civic duty to go vote. Many Iowans I talk to are going to vote on Election Day no matter what. And I think that's something that is important to our country. It's symbolic that you go cast your ballot in person, and there is security involved in it. And it is important for us to have face-to-face contacts, and we know who's voting.
Mr. Taylor, close us out here.
Sure. So I believe that going to a completely all-mail ballot is not a good thing, all told. I think that auditors' offices can be overwhelmed by that just as well. I do think that there's some safety and security issues along those lines. I want to make sure that everyone has access on Election Day as well. And you can see back in Woodbury County where we actually had a lawsuit to be able to open up more polling places. I think that accessibility is good, but I think we need to have polling places that are open for those who traditionally would want to go in person and do so safely and securely.
Okay, this primary was not all mail though, so was what he did right or wrong? Because he has it both ways.
I think in order to be able to grant as much ballot access, I think opening it up to that was good, but I also want to make sure that we also have the maximum availability of polling places on Election Day. Otherwise, I think that can be a disenfranchisement.
All right, we need to take a quick break here. When we come back for the final half hour here, an Iowan has an honesty question for the candidates here. Plus, the candidates get the chance to get an unanswered question answered. We'll explain what that's all about when we come back in our 4th District Congressional Candidate Debate. Stay with us.